The ambassador reports many religious leaders are committed to a unified Iraq, a peaceful Iraq. The response by the Grand Ayatollah Sistani and many other leaders has been constructive and very important, and we appreciate their leadership.
First of all, I have the greatest respect for Ayatollah Sistani. There is a great deal that we agree with about him. First of all, that Iraq should move now to a democratic form of government. Secondly, that the process by which that happens should be transparent and representative, involving all Iraqis. And we have arranged a process which involves the selection this year of a transitional assembly, and which calls for 3 separate elections next year: an election of a constituent assembly, a referendum on the constitution that assembly will write, and elections for a democratic government at the end of the year next year. So there's a great deal that we agree with him. And as for being in fundamental disagreement with him, I just don't think that's true. I think we will go forward now and implement the November 15th agreement in a way that serves the interest of all Iraqi people.
It seems to me that in the areas of economic reconstruction, political activity, the formation of a government and political institutions, we are making progress. I think it's a significant thing that there has been no ethnic or religious civil war as such there. I mean, that was always the worst case scenario in my mind. I think maybe we have Ayatollah Sistani and some other people to thank for that.
I believe we must tackle Iraq's political chaos, because it is that stability that will be the cornerstone of a prosperous nation. Finding common cause must come first and foremost within Iraq. It must come from Iraq's secular and religious leaders, leaders like Ayatollah Sistani. We need Iraqis like him at the table, and the United States needs to encourage more acts of leadership by him and others.
As President Bush has said, the United States intends to stay in Iraq as long as necessary, but not one day more. That the people of Iraq want a voice in their own government, there can be no doubt. The Ayatollah Ali Sistani, who was under house arrest since 1988, who is now free from Saddam's tyranny, recently issued what is perhaps history's first pro-American fatwa. He advised believers, quote, not to hinder the forces of liberation and help bring this war against the tyrant to a successful end for the Iraqi people. Sistani, referring to recent events, was reported to have quoted the Prophet Muhammad saying, "There is good in what happens," and added himself, "Our people need freedom even more than air. Iraq has suffered and it deserves better government."
The last thing I'll point out is, first, in the wake of yesterday's operations near Najaf and really our operations to date, a prominent cleric, Grand Ayatollah Sistani, who had been placed under house arrest by the regime for a considerable period of time, issued a fatwa, and it was done this morning, instructing the population to remain calm and to not interfere with coalition actions. We believe this is a very significant turning point and yet another indicator that the Iraqi regime is approaching its end.
As for the Shia, their principal leader, Grand Ayatollah Sistani, has consistently supported our continued presence. Peaceful majority rule favors the Shias since they are in the majority, while civil war may or may not have the same result. The Shia also want settlement with the Sunnis as the only way the country can unite against the foreign jihadists who aim their terror mainly at the Shia. The Kurds also favor our continued presence.
We can and should be hopeful for the future. In Najaf and Kufa, this plan has already brought success. And those cities, a fireband cleric had taken over Shia Islam's holiest sites in defiance of the government and the local population. Immediately, the Iraqi government ordered the Iraqi armed forces into action to use military force to create conditions for political success. Together with the coalition partners, Iraqi forces cleaned out insurgents from everywhere in the city, capturing hundreds and killing many more. At the same time, the government worked with political leaders and with Ayatollah Sistani to find a peaceful solution to the occupation of the shrine. We were successful. The shrines was preserved, order was restored, and Najaf and Kufa were returned to their citizens. Today,
what happens when there's another Nafja? And or in Karbala, there is another major undertaking. One of the militias goes off the wall, and our U.S. commander says, we're going to go and take out Saudi, we're going to go in and take out whomever. And I predict to you what will happen with this government if it has any legitimacy. They'll say, do not go in there. Just like Sistani has said, don't go in and take out Saudi, because he can't afford to be seen as siding with an American force.
A lot of fighting still around Najaf. Do you have any update on Najaf that you can give us?
As far as Najaf is concerned, again, not too much new to say, really. I think you've all seen reports that the Grand Ayatollah Sistani has returned to Iraq. Obviously, he is a personage of great respect and reverence. We are very pleased that he has recovered.
ذكرت آية الله العظمى السيستاني أنه ساعد في بعض الأمور، وكان هناك موضوع يتعلق بصياغة الدستور الجديد للعراق، وكان هناك مفاوضات صعبة تجري بين الأطراف المختلفة. تتحدث بكتابك على أنه كانت مرحلة شديدة التحدي. لم تلتقي السيستاني، لماذا لم تلتقيه شخصيا، وما هو تقييمك للدور الذي لعبه خاصة في المراحل الحرجة خلال تواجدك في العراق؟
Intense dialogue with him through intermediaries, various intermediaries. I calculated once that I probably had an exchange of 48 or 49 different messages back and forth, including written letters with the Grand Ayatollah Sistani during the year I was there. So that means we were communicating 3 or 4 times a month. It was a very intense dialogue. My view was that the Grand Ayatollah's vision for Iraq was very similar to the vision that the coalition had for Iraq, which was a democratic or at least representative government of some form, and that within the bounds of what he thought was the appropriate role for a Grand Ayatollah, he was generally helpful in realizing that dream. So I had great respect, and I have great respect for Grand Ayatollah Sistani, and I felt that we had a very open and free dialogue with each other that was very helpful to me.
عرفت من النقاشات ومن خلال مناقشاتي مع المسؤولين الأكراد بأننا سنؤجل حل الجيش العراقي. ولا تنسى ذلك أن الأمر الآخر الذي دار في ذهننا أن المرجع الشيعي علي السيستاني طلب من الشيعة التعاون مع الاحتلال.
ماذا عن المرجعية الشيعية والسيد السيستاني؟ سبق في بداية ذهابك إلى العراق أن لم تكن ترغب كما قيل في إجراء الانتخابات، ولكن من فرضها كان المرجع السيستاني. هل ترى الآن أنه بطريقة ما هو الأقوى؟
خلال وقتي في العراق كانت لي الكثير من الاتصالات الودية مع آية الله السيستاني، وأعتقد أن رؤيته للعراق كانت مشابهة لرؤية الحكومة الأمريكية، بمعنى حكومة تمثيلية تمثل كل العراق، وأعتقد أنه لعب دورا مفيدا.
I'll never forget when Secretary Rumsfeld was in many times to a private session, closed session. I asked him, what about Ayatollah Ali Sistani? Okay? You know and I know that without Ayatollah Ali Sistani, we would be in bad shape there. He's been very supportive of what we've tried to do, even though we've never spoken to him.
Iraqi cleric, the Grand Ayatollah Sistani, took the courageous step of instructing the population to remain calm and not to interfere with coalition actions.